welcome on into Courtside. I'm your host, Courtney Webb, and this is a digital series about QVC entrepreneurs. We have a duo here. The Campanelli brothers are with us. We have Mr. Chris and Joe. Welcome on in, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey, Court. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you both for joining. I just real quick want each of you to introduce yourself separately and your role within the company.
Sure. I'm Joe Campanelli. I'm the older one, much older, and I am president of the company.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. Chris Campanelli, Joe's very much younger brother, and I'm the vice president of the company. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to just kind of bounce off some questions, whichever one you both feel like answering. And also feel free to just be like, excuse me, I'd like to add a little fact to that. That's what this is all about. So we'll actually start off with Joe here. Joe, tell me a little bit about how the company began and how it came to fruition. I believe it started with a Hoover vacuum cleaner. Is that right?
Yep. So my dad was from Newark, New Jersey, and he actually moved out of the house when he was about 16 years old. He had met my mom when she was about 13, and he fibbed about his age to get a job at the Hoover Vacuum Company selling Hoover door to door. I think he said he was 18. And he worked his way up to regional manager selling Hoover's door to door. And then he decided to open up some retail vacuum cleaner stores. And in the 60s, at one time, he had about 12 stores, which was, this is long before the Kmart's and the Walmart's and all of these department stores were around. So I was brought up in the vacuum cleaner business. And my wife and I got married. I'm leaving a lot out in between. But we went down to South Florida, and I opened up a vacuum cleaner store in Boca Raton, Florida. And it was great. We were there right when Boca was starting to expand, and we had a tiny little store. I mean, I was on my feet 78 hours a week, but I loved working with people. And then I actually ran across a little cordless vacuum cleaner that I fell in love with, and customers being in South Florida had tile floor. So we were selling this, and my mom was a model at the time, and she was going to the Home Shopping Network. So I said, Mom, do me a favor. I said, just give me the name of anybody up there. Just give me the name of anybody. She did. She was actually, I think the line is still on QVC. It's Westmore, I think.
Yeah, it is very much still on QVC.
Yeah. Stuff. So she went up there. She got me the name of somebody. I drove up. I met the gentleman. He loved the product. They put me on entrepreneur night. I sold out, and here we are.
Wow, that's incredible. What a story.
Yeah.
So I love that you were on HSN with our sister company.
Now,
tell me a little bit about both of your paths into this, because obviously you started off there.
Sure.
Share with us a little bit more.
Okay. All right, I'll sum it up real quick. So when I was 17, I graduated high school. I drove to Los Angeles. Okay. And I always wanted to get into the movie business. It's something I just always dreamed of. And again, I got sidetracked, and I opened up a vacuum cleaner store out there in Los Angeles. So this is before the Boca time. My wife, who I'm married to now, was out there with me at that time. And I got totally sidetracked and started opening up the stores. And of course, I needed to make a living, so I kind of pushed the movie thing aside. But fast forward 40 years with the help of Chris. He is now on the air, and he is more than my right-hand man. He has given me the opportunity to live my dream. So I actually made a feature film that I wrote and produced. Chris has a cameo in it. My son directed it and scored it, and I just happen to have a copy here. It's called Bully, which is available on Amazon and also iTunes and everywhere. It's actually out now. I must tell you, I'm an Italian from New Jersey, so there's a lot of potty mouth. So if you have, but it's a great story about a kid being bullied, gets rescued, and of course turns things around. So we won a lot of film festivals. We won a film festival out in Hollywood and the Garden State Film Festival here in New Jersey. So that was my path. And I would never be able to do this if and I'm not just saying this, of course, he knows this, but without Chris and also Stella. his wife. They have, so you never, you're never too old to be who you might have been. That's what I say.
Oh, I love hearing that. I mean, that's inspiration for a lot of us, because just because you start off in one space does not mean you can't evolve and get into another one. I think that's a lot of what entrepreneurs do. They pivot constantly.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they say if you think about it every day, it's something you should probably do. And I love my job at QVC too. I mean, I kind of miss being on the air a little bit because I like interacting. I mean, I love being in retail, one-on-one. It was just great. I mean, met some incredible people. And being on the air, still have that connection. Being off the air gives me the freedom to do other things in my golden years. But of course, Chris has just been a fantastic, a guest. He's a natural. He's a ham.
He's awesome. So Chris, tell us your journey into the Campanelli Products Company. Like before it even did you always know you wanted to be in it?
Well, it's a little bit different. My path is definitely different than Joe's because we're so much different in age. I was actually, when I was born, Joe was 17, and believe it or not, I was adopted as a baby into this family. Oh, pounds. Yeah. But yeah, so when I was born, Joe was 17, and he was creating his path, and then of course growing up in the retail vacuum business, I only knew that you got up every morning and went to work. I mean, that was what you did. I went to school, Dad went to work, and Mom took care of the house, and that was our little nuclear family for a while there. I went to military school from 7th grade through 12th grade, and then went to the University of Florida, where I was always keeping in touch with Joe all the time when he was started his business down South Florida. And we had always said that we wanted to work together just because we were so close and we always got along. And it was that natural path where I was going to, we were going to come together and do something. Out of college, I actually worked in retail. I took a retail job with a major retailer and kind of worked my way through the ranks there, almost getting my own store. And then we just saw an opportunity. You talk about a pivot. We saw an opportunity to work together when we finally were able to bring our products to QVC, and we just jumped at that opportunity. So I loaded up my dog and a 20-foot rider truck, and I just said, okay, let's do it. And then that was 17 years ago. I was never supposed to go on the air. I never wanted to go on the air.
Really?
Never wanted to be in front of the camera. I always wanted to be, I'm a numbers guy. I'm very linear. I do like to talk to people a lot. That's probably why I'm pretty decent on the air, but I never wanted to go on the air. I was deathly afraid of it until one day the opportunity came for me to go on the air, and Joe and I had the conversation. It was just kind of like, well, go one way or we can go the other. So we pivoted to me going on the air. And then, that was, believe it or not, eight or so years ago.
Wow.
And then, we packed up the family, moved to the Westchester area, and, they say the rest is history, but it seems like the years go by faster and faster.
Yeah.
It's so true. So what was it like your first time being on the air? Since you just said you had no interest, you weren't really wanting to do it. Tell me your experience, Chris, and then Joe, tell me yours at QVC, because, obviously coming on at HSN and then coming to QVC, we're still two very different networks,
Sure.
even though we're sister companies.
Sure.
But tell me that.
Chris?
Well, the first time I was on the air, I think it was with Mary Beth Rowe. My first real airing, I think, was with Mary Beth Rowe. It was terrifying. It was, Dan Hughes says it best when he brings all these, newer guests underneath his wing. He says, these next 8 minutes will feel like 8 seconds. And it's true, because there's so much to do and so much to remember, especially with cleaning products that are so demonstrable. You have certain things that you need to demo. You have certain things you need to say. Then you have to keep track of the monitor, how much time you have left, listen to the producer in your ear, try to remember what the host is saying. So the first time for me, when I go back and actually watch that airing, it is painful.
I remember that like it was yesterday. And, it feels 1,000 times worse when you're on the air.
Oh, 1,000.
I mean, most definitely. But he came around real quick. I mean, I'd have been nervous the first half a dozen, but like I said, he's a natural. I mean, he's got the gift of gab. Everybody loves him. He's just an incredible human being. Yeah, just a really good-hearted person. And look at him now. I mean, this is the first time I had to shave for this. I don't even have to cut my hair or shave anymore. So.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So now you're on QVC. Tell me the breadth of the line, because what was like the first product? I think you just said it was a vacuum cleaner over at HSN. Tell me your first product at QVC and now the collection and the categories that you've come into.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting story also. So I was on QVC. I was on HSN and was actually driving back from Clearwater, and I get a phone call from this guy from New York City, and he goes, "Hey, my boss is interested in you selling some cleaning products for us." And it was a very, very big company. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so he said, "Well, maybe think about doing an infomercial." So I said, "Oh, okay." So I flew up to New York. It was on the 74th floor of the Empire State Building. He took over half the floor. And I mean, a little intimidating. But I actually ended up doing several infomercials for these guys. It ended up being vacuums, a very similar vacuum to the one I had on HSN. And the opportunity came for me to take that item on QVC. So the very first item I had on QVC was not mine. I was actually just repping it. Well, not repping it, but guesting it. And so I went on the air and I sold like 5,000 vacuum cleaners in 8 minutes, or maybe a little longer back then. Wow. And I literally had to take a step back and go, wow. I mean, because QVC, the numbers are very, very powerful. Mm-hmm. And so every vacuum cleaner I sold, and this is why I'm not mentioning the name, came back. They were defective.
Oh, no.
Yes. So now I left HSN to do this on QVC. Of course, I'm never coming back with that particular product. So I took our stain remover and I brought it to, there's a buyer, Bernadette Volker, who I love to this day.
Yeah.
And I walked in there, I probably had tears in my eyes, and I said, Bernadette, can you give me a shot with this product? It's a fantastic product. I was actually selling it to vacuum stores all over the country at that time. And she gave me the opportunity to go on the air with our stain remover, which is still on the air. Mm-hmm. And
Sunday will be on the air.
I had Dan Hughes was my host, and we sold out. So from that, we brought some dusters, and as I actually, the first company I worked with overseas, I befriended a young lady. And she said she wanted to go out on her own. And so she actually works for us full time now, overseas. Oh, sweetheart. I've been overseas twice and met her and her family. Incredible gal. So she now introduced us to the best factories. We have quality control beyond most of our competitors, because I have someone that actually will sleep at the factory. And they do. Wow. To make sure that everything is pristine. So with this opportunity, we came into microfiber dusters, microfiber towels. Chris came up with the Cooking Buddy. He's a cook at home, which is a great product. And my son, Santino, who works for us, he's in Los Angeles. He does our websites. He does all of that. He's actually a musician. He scored the movie. He directed the movie. He's amazing. He actually told me about a microfiber towel to remove makeup from your face. And I'm like, dude, I sell towels, I sell towels to clean a house. I'm not doing that. He pushed me. We got some samples from overseas. We worked it, we tweaked it, and that's where the Fresh Face came about. And we use a material unlike anybody else's, and that's Megan Murray is our guest for that. And that's turned out to be a fantastic product. So now we're predominantly in cleaning. We have a little bit of kitchen and a little bit of beauty, and that's where we are.
It's incredible. Your whole family is within this family business. I mean, Chris, tell me a little bit about the dynamics. Both of your wives are involved, and then, of course, you just heard that Joe's son is involved. But tell me a little bit about how that works and how you guys communicate and stay all together, and what's it like?
Well, we have microchips implanted into our brains so that we know when each other is thinking and no. I want to say maybe 15 years ago when we were all together in the same state. I think it's been that long. We had an office and it wasn't kind of us. It wasn't that we weren't that typical Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 type of family vibe thing. So we said, you know what, why don't we just try working from home? And we did. And Joe was down the street from me, and I was, my wife was in the next room and she was doing something different. And so when we were a smaller contained company, it was easy. Joe and I would just be on the phone or, talking via chat or email or something like that. And it was a lot easier when there were only 2 or 3 people involved. And then as things grew, Stella took on a lot of the roles. Stella's my wife. She took on a lot of the roles that I did. Joyce, Joe's wife, does a lot of course, the product testing does everybody. We send things to everybody in the family just to get, opinions and things of that nature. And it just kind of grew organically from there as technology got better with, platforms like this, whether it be Skype or FaceTime or email or texting or calling. I mean, we're constantly on the phone. So the family dynamic definitely, to use your word again, pivoted more towards business. But, we still get along and we're still a big family and we still try to see each other as much as possible. But technology has allowed us to run a business, from anywhere. I mean, we can run our business from the phone, whether it be email or a chat or like that. It's really allowed us to unplug from an office type environment to where, if you're up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can write some emails to your team overseas and then kind of respond in kind. So it's not a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 type gig. So, it really is kind of all encompassing, but gives you the freedom to do other things. So, the dynamic is definitely different. Yeah, they'd like to make a movie. But the dynamic is definitely different. Not a lot of people can do it, but we seem to make it work. And, I'm the left foot and he's the right foot, and somehow we make it work. We're a dancing team. So yeah.
Well, and when you say that you're all working together and you kind of do it in your own way, was there ever a moment in your life where each of you thought, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, or you started to realize, I think I could actually do this, and this is something that I'm interested in pursuing in that career? I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's something you're born with? Does a situation have to happen? Do you fall into it? I'd love to hear both of your inputs. Joe, would you like to go first?
Sure. My dad was an entrepreneur. So again, my dad, didn't finish high school, left the house when he was young, got married when he was young, started selling vacuums door to door, and ended up with a 12-store chain of vacuum stores. I mean, and he actually branched that into larger appliances. He did a lot of things. My dad was just a workaholic, and he loved work. And I think I'm the same way. I love work. I mean, I love work. I work out. I used to be a bodybuilder. That's a whole different story.
Oh.
But that I love doing also. But I actually like working. I don't golf. I don't fish. So I enjoy getting up, like Chris said, at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and getting everything done. So I think it's in me. Mm-hmm. The one thing Chris didn't tell you is that I actually begged him to come up here to work for me. I did, because Chris, he's very smart. He's so much smarter. If he was exactly like me, this is the greatest thing that he's adopted, because he's so very different. And the half of me that works, the half that doesn't work, he has that half. I mean, we don't need 2 of me, Lord knows. So together it's perfect. But he's very smart, and more importantly, loyal. Honest and loyal and hardworking. And I knew that about him, and I knew that's if and when he ever came up, we would have this relationship, forever, and it will be that way.
It's incredible. So, Chris, tell us your background on entrepreneurship. Do you feel like it's something that you kind of knew you always wanted? Maybe you dabbled in it before, or did it just kind of happen and you said, you know what, let's embrace it and roll with it?
You know, I think that you are the sum of all of your experiences. And I can't say enough about the power of, you know, your environment as a child or your environment growing up, or who you tend to idolize. Like Joe said, I mean, our dad just worked. I mean, and I said it before, you know, I went to school, my dad went to work, and my mom took care of the house. And on Saturdays, my dad was working, and on Sundays, we just kind of did things as a family. And I think that, you know, it wasn't that my dad was at work, you know, for somebody else. It was that I spent time in his shop, just like my brother Joe did, you know, and saw the interaction between people, and you know, my brother-in-law worked for him for a while. My parents wanted me to take a very different path. I mean, they were, you know, they were determined to not, you know, you don't want to open up a vacuum store because you have no idea, you know, because it was hard work. It was grueling, brutal, hard work, because you had no idea from day to day what, you know, who was going to walk through the door and what you were going to be able to produce. So, you know, the comfort of going for 5 was what my parents were trying to prevent. So they did push me to go to college, or encourage. So they did push me to go to college, which I did go to school. I went to the same school that Joe went to. You know, at the end of the day, it just was something that felt normal, because I did do both. I did do the corporate thing and I did do the retail thing. And, you know, you're kind of beholden to somebody else's guidelines and somebody else's, you know, dogma. And it was just one of those things where it was like, you know what, this feels a whole lot better than it. So at the end of the day, it was just something I fell into. And, you know, it's wonderful waking up every day and being able to create something. And that's the one thing that I think is so awesome about this opportunity, A, with QVC, and B, being an entrepreneur, is that if you have an idea, is that you can take that small idea, however tiny it may be, and then try to work so hard to bring it to fruition, and that you put it out there in the public and people. And that's the biggest payoff and the biggest reward, is seeing the passion in the reviews that people are leaving about a product that you said one day, you know, in the middle of the night, that would be a really good idea. So, you know, that's, I think, is the driving force behind even continuing to be an entrepreneur day in, day out.
Well, and both of you have mentioned work. You don't look at work as something that you're like, I don't really want to do that. You really look at it as an opportunity and as a challenge. And I think that is really refreshing, because I don't know who coined the term, like, I don't want to work a day in my life. I'm like, work is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just about how you balance it with the rest of your life. Sure. And so I think both of you embody that. What would you tell someone who either wants to branch out and start their own company, or someone who's just saying, you know what, I need to be rejuvenated. How do I self-start? Because as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to self-start, even when things aren't going great, right?
Sure.
There's a real easy answer to that. It's just start.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it seems trivial, but I mean, you just have to take that one first step. It's that tiny little first step. It's, you know, if it's the courage, if it's the power, whatever it is, it's just one little step.
Yeah, and also, you know, with the opportunities now, you know, like going on QVC for the first time. I mean, you have to have enough capital to get the first order. I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, if I go on the air with 5,000 stain removers, this is back in the day when we first started. If we sold 5, well, then I'm going to have, you know, the other 4,000 and change delivered to the warehouse of my choice. So, but nowadays, if you have an idea, I mean, there are other platforms out there where you can put something on in a small quantity. You could put 24 of something up. You could put 48 or 48,000. So if you have an idea, this is probably the best time ever to try to launch something with very little capital. Then, of course, if it works, you can just, you know, take the money, like flipping houses. You take the money from that and reinvest it. And, you know, you've seen how many people started in their garage. And of course, they have monstrous companies. So you start small, but the opportunities are there. You don't have to mortgage your house or take a second mortgage out, which many entrepreneurs have done to get on QVC. I know for a fact some very famous people that have a lot of products that they've started. They'll second mortgage their house. They'll take $40,000, $50,000, big gamble, and just take it. You don't have to do that anymore. Now with other platforms, you can really start small. And the only thing I can tell you is that life is it's short, and you got to do. You just got to take a shot, and otherwise you don't want to be that person. At the end of the day, going, man, I really wish I would have taken that shot. I better have taken a shot and lost than have never taken it at all. So yeah, I agree with Chris. Just go for it.
Go for it.
I think that's very great advice. So we can obviously shop Campanelli products on QVC.com. Tell us where we can follow your journey. Are you on social, things that maybe you're excited about, or a sneak peek? We just want to hear a little thing before we kind of tune out here.
Sure. Well, the most important thing to do is while everybody's in lockdown is to go to bully.movie. See, it's all sales with me. It's not bully.movie. Go to bully.movie, and you can see where the movie's playing. And you could kill 90 minutes and be entertained. Really, what we're doing now is we're just looking to expand we do things very slowly. We love working from home. We don't want a warehouse. We don't want offices. So we expand slowly. So we're always bringing new products in. And I think that's our goal. It's just to expand the line, give customers items that they can't find anywhere else, quality that is unsurpassed. Customer service, that is Stella. We will do anything to make any customer happy. That is from my old retail days. Anything. I mean, so, you never have to leave a bad review. All you have to do is get in touch with us on Facebook or go to our website, and whatever the problem is, and I'm putting it out there, whatever the problem is, we'll rectify it. We want you to be happy. We would not be here if it weren't for the QVC customers and of course, QVC itself.
Yeah. And then, Chris, do you have any other sneak peeks or things you want to share, or advice, or even a funny story that we didn't get to talk about before we sign off?
No, I think Joe, hit the nail on the head. It's we've taken great pride by putting our family name on a line of products that that we owe to the customer. And even if there's anything that a customer wants to see, we encourage interaction and engagement. If there's something that you say, what would be a really good idea, or a great color, or a great pattern, or here's what I'm thinking about, just reach out. We're two very open, friendly guys that have families that are just trying to bring great products to the consumer at a reasonable price. It's not, it sounds kitschy, but that's really what the depth of the core is of our family, and has been for, years and years and years.
Well, we appreciate you both. I know my dad's first purchase was the Campanelli duster set, and I'll never forget my parents, each of their first purchase on QVC. That was my dad. So thank you for bringing us those amazing products. Thank you for taking the time and sharing with us as well. And we look forward to seeing you both back in the studio at some point. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care.